What if the streets you walk every day suddenly collapsed into lawless chaos, where the waters rise faster than you can run and dignity disappears faster than the sun? In broad daylight, bodies are traded for shelter. The scent of floodwater mixes with the sharp sting of substance abuse, and at every intersection, desperation cracks through the asphalt. "It's a living hell out here," whispered a man standing barefoot on what used to be his front porch, now a drowned patch of mud under a highway overpass. This isn't just homelessness, this is collapse. From Houston's tent cities to the submerged alleys of Kerrville, Texas, is unraveling at the seams. Welcome to Great Travel Documentary, where we show what others won't. Comment 6 below if you're ready to dive into the storm. 1. The harsh reality of homelessness in Texas. A scorched sidewalk in East Austin, once cracked and dry, now split by floodwater and lined with tents half submerged in brown rushing currents. The Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes. It swallowed roads, homes, and entire neighborhoods, forcing thousands onto the streets with nothing but the clothes they wore. The state's homeless population, already teetering at 27,000, is now surging past 30,000. In Houston and Austin, sidewalks haven't just become battlegrounds, they've become riverbeds. Cars are flipped like toys, sleeping bags are soaked, and those plastic tarps, the only shield against the elements, now collapse under pounding rain. "I lost everything in the flood," said a former Army medic in Kerr County, now living beneath an overpass near I-10. "Now I watch the river rise from a cot made of pallets." This is the reality on the ground, couples clinging to each other under flooded bridges, children crying beside bags of clothes, men staring into the distance, lost in the haze of trauma and withdrawal. Public intimacy and substance use no longer shock anyone. They're just part of the new routine of survival. For the thousands already unhoused before the floodwaters came, this was a second blow. For newcomers, flood survivors with no insurance, no backup plan, and no relatives left, it's a free fall into despair. But this is only the surface. The flood didn't just drown homes, it revealed how fragile our systems really are. And in the next section, we'll show how economic strain, broken policies, and now natural disaster are pushing more Texans to the edge. 2. The root causes of Texas's homelessness crisis. How does a person go from paying rent to sleeping under a highway overpass? The path to homelessness in Texas has always been steep, but now it's soaked in floodwater and buried under mudslides of misfortune. The root causes haven't changed. Rent is sky-high, wages are stagnant, and mental health care is chronically underfunded. In Austin, the average cost for a one-bedroom apartment has climbed to $1,800 a month. That's more than 60% of monthly income for anyone earning minimum wage, if they can even find full-time work. But what's new in 2025 is this: nature itself is now accelerating the crisis. Highway 190, a vital artery in central Texas, was shut down for nearly a week after deadly floods tore through San Saba County. Entire neighborhoods were submerged. In Lampasas, the river surged 14 feet in just 2 hours, wiping out homes, small businesses, and every means of stability people had left. We met Maria again, this time not in Dallas, but huddled in a shelter in San Saba. I had to leave everything she told us, holding a trash bag of clothes and a water-stained photo of her son. I'm trying to save up for a bus back to Dallas, but there's no buses running. I don't even know where the station is anymore. It's underwater. According to the Texas Homeless Network, over 40% of the state's homeless population now cite a mix of unaffordable housing and natural disasters as the root cause of their displacement. 3. The overwhelming challenges of the homelessness crisis. 1 in 5 unhoused Texans has spent over a year on the streets exposed to brutal heat, bitter cold, and now rising floodwaters. The signs said, "Turn around, don't drown." Evacuations were ordered, but many had no IDs, no transportation, and no one coming to help. As the rivers surged, desperation boiled over. Intimate acts for safety, substances to numb panic. We reconnected with James, a 45-year-old veteran in Houston. He'd spent the last 2 years living in a tent by a quiet patch of woods. When the storm hit, that patch became a lake. I lost everything again. He said his boots still soaked from the last night's rain. They told me to evacuate. But where do I go? I don't have a car. I don't even have a poncho. James had been trying to turn his life around. He was enrolled in a job program, taking slow steps towards stability. Now he's starting over from zero again. His resolve hasn't broken, but you can hear the fatigue in his voice. You can see the cracks. This is the compounding trauma most people never see. Hunger layered with hopelessness, addiction layered with exposure, and now natural disasters layered over it all. So we ask you, what would it take to help someone like James right now in the middle of all this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters more than you think. For the devastating role of substance use. In the shadows of Texas's homeless camps, substance use has become both symptom and survival tool. For many, it's the only way to quiet the ache of hunger, fear, and isolation. Individuals already dependent on opioids or meth were suddenly cut off from stability shelter and any chance at recovery. The Texas Department of State Health Services reports that 38% of the state's unhoused population struggles with substance dependency, but in the wake of natural disaster, access to treatment becomes nearly non-existent. We spoke again with Lisa, who'd been 2 months sober before the storms. When the shelter she relied on closed during evacuations, she nearly relapsed. "I was cold, wet, and alone," she said, "but I remembered what I've been fighting for. Will we let storms wash away the hope people like Lisa cling to?" 5. The hidden pain of exploitation and public intimacy. Behind the harsh statistics of homelessness lies a quiet tragedy that rarely makes headlines: exploitation through public intimacy. It's one of the most gut-wrenching truths we encounter. For many women on the streets of Texas, survival doesn't just mean staying warm or fed. It means sacrificing their bodies in exchange for a place to sleep or a meal to get through the day. According to a 2024 study by the Texas Homeless Network, 1 in 4 homeless women in the state has experienced some form of sexual exploitation. It's not a choice, it's a last resort born from desperation in a world that offers no safety net. On sidewalks in Dallas, underpasses in Houston, or behind shuttered storefronts in Austin, public intimacy has become a grim reality, visible, raw, and deeply painful. It reflects a breakdown not just in housing, but in humanity. This is not just about homelessness, it's about human dignity. So we ask, what will it take to make sure no one is ever pushed this far again? 6. The ripple effects on communities. For those living on the streets every day, chips away at physical and emotional health. Illness spreads easily, Where hygiene is scarce, fear becomes routine, fear of being robbed, harassed, forgotten. In Houston alone, foot traffic to downtown businesses has dropped over 15% in the past 3 years per the Houston Downtown Management District. Add to that the sudden economic blow of flood cleanup, especially across hill country and the tourism-dependent regions, and the cost is staggering. Millions now diverted to emergency response while the root issues remain untouched. Tourism is shrinking. And yet amid the tragedy, we've also seen something else: unity. In Kerr County, volunteers waded through water to rescue strangers. In San Saba, neighbors cooked meals on propane stoves for people they'd never met. These moments remind us compassion is still possible, but compassion alone isn't enough. We need action. We need systems that work before tragedy strikes, not just after. What's your take? Should Texas redirect more of its resources to address both homelessness and disaster recovery before it's too late? Comment below and be part of the solution in this dual crisis. 7 housing policies, a barrier to progress. When it comes to solving homelessness in Texas, housing is supposed to be the foundation, but right now it's more like a trapdoor. Across the state, there's a staggering shortage of over 600,000 affordable housing units, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. That number isn't just data, it represents real families stuck in limbo waiting years for a place to live. In Dallas, housing wait lists can stretch for over 3 years, and during that wait, there's often nowhere to go but the streets or unsafe motels or couches until even those options run out. Instead of offering support, some cities have doubled down on punitive policies. Austin, for instance, once enforced a public camping ban that effectively criminalized homelessness without providing real alternatives. All it did was push people further into the shadows, under overpasses, into creeks or down highways. Karen is a 35-year-old single mother in San Antonio. She's been on a wait list for 2 years, hoping for a stable place to raise her son. Every night I tell him this is temporary, she told us, tears in her eyes, but I don't know how much longer we can wait. Her son, just 7 years old, hasn't had a proper bedroom in over a year. Karen isn't alone. Her story is echoed by thousands across the state, people who are doing everything right but still can't catch a break because the system moves too slowly. While cities like Houston have ambitious plans, 5,000 new units by 2027, the reality is that the pace of change isn't keeping up with the urgency of the crisis. We believe housing is a human right. Do you? Let us know how you'd hold leaders accountable. Drop your thoughts in the comments. 8 solutions to break the cycle. Despite the depth of the crisis, there is still hope, and it begins with action. Across Texas, a growing network of shelters, outreach programs, and recovery services are offering lifelines to those on the brink. In Houston, a Housing First initiative has helped reduce chronic homelessness by nearly 60% over the past decade, showing what's possible when compassion meets policy. In Dallas, mobile hygiene units are giving people access to showers and a basic dignity. And in Austin, a job training program tailored to the homeless is helping individuals rebuild their lives with purpose. These aren't miracle fixes, but they're proof that change is possible when we invest in people, not punishment. We met a man named Malik, once homeless in Fort Worth, who now leads a peer support group. His story is a reminder with the right support, anyone can break free from the cycle. If these stories moved you, share this video to help others see the humanity behind the statistics. And if you believe in second chances, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what solution would you support to end homelessness in Texas.